think Dan Donovan has the best chance just because he has the best name recognition. And a large part of the island is pretty solidly Republican. So if they turn out and we don't, he gets in. As far as Republicans from Staten Island go, he's pretty. I'd say it's progress from the Tea Party guy, and it's progress from the Democrat who voted with the Republicans, and it's progress from the Republican who had such family values he needed a second family, and it's progress from the young woman who left her constituents unrepresented so she could take a TV job. In the last midterms, the turnout was horrendous. And I'm thinking if we have 8 to 10%, that will be considered okay in this special election. But that's very disappointing in many ways, especially on the North Shore, where it's very important.
I've been a 30-year Democrat, always went down the Democratic ticket, like they all want us to do. And I've said the same thing like all these Democrats are saying, don't split the vote, don't split the vote, okay? I was one of them people. I am sick and tired of, first of all, de Blasio threw me over the edge with his attitude because he talked. He talked a good talk. I voted for him. I got many people to vote for him. And the first thing he did wrong was hire Bill Bratton as the police commissioner. That right there, I already knew he was bullshit. Okay? Then you got the Riccio. Okay, Riccio, I voted for him too. What did he do? A lot of people voted for him. He wanted to step out before the shit was even finished. Okay? Another letdown. Hillary Clinton. Okay? Let's go to the higher ups. I've been a Hillary Clinton supporter forever, since Clinton's name was mentioned. I loved Bill Clinton. I loved Hillary Clinton. But you know what? I'm pretty pissed at her right now. Because why? She ain't talking about the issues that concern me, which is police brutality. Okay? All these cops killing people and getting away with it without even so much as a slap in the face.
Platform, especially on my flyers, was an end to police brutality in this country. Every 28 hours, an unarmed person is killed by law enforcement, so that's something that we really wanted to address. One of the biggest things that we have, and what's a huge problem, is that police are totally removed from the community. I mean, what we have is a situation where you have a community of color or whatever, and the police that are in charge of protecting that community don't really know that community, and so they're afraid of the community. They have different cultures, different language, different mannerisms that they're not used to, and they walk in fear when they should be walking and learning from the community. And this is something that happened because back when I was growing up, we had beat cops. We had people that actually were police that came out of the community, and they walked among the community, and you knew where they lived, and they knew about your children, they knew about your children, and they sort of were just kind of like, I don't know, custodians, or they knew about everything, and you would never really fear them. If anything, you actually felt more bonded to them because they were part of your community. And it's almost like that Sesame Street thing, who are the people in your neighborhood, right? It's like, hey, that's a policeman, and it was a real thing. But now the police are totally removed from the community because as soon as they put them in the cars and took them off the streets, they don't have that attachment anymore. They're surrounded by these vehicles, and they live in fear. Yeah, and so what I'd really like to see is going back to a day where the police that come out into the force are actually people that are recruited from the community to help police their own community. Back in the day, we had like neighborhood watches. So in theory, we didn't even need police. We only needed police when something was like above the scale of what the neighborhood watch could do. Because, looking at George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, for example, he was acting as his own neighborhood watch against the will of the police. He contacted the police several times. They said, stop following this man. You're not acting in the way you should be for community watch. Because when we did community watch, we weren't armed with weapons. We had whistles and maybe a flashlight, so we could look and investigate and whistle if we heard something or whatever. And then you would call a policeman, and they would actually come and take care of the situation. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have something where the police are actually part of the community working with us, and they understand and they're not afraid. Because if you have a cop that's afraid of the community, that's not a policeman that I want protecting me. He's going to have all these things where we talk about nervous fire, or he's a rookie and he didn't understand this and he was afraid for his life. If he's afraid for his life, he's not fit to be a cop. He needs to be off the force. So,
being here on Staten Island, there were much more Democrats that were not being heard from, and I felt like it was really time for a grassroots movement here on the island, especially on the North Shore.
Is a party of human rights. Our platform is based on grassroots democracy, nonviolence, social justice, and ecological wisdom. Under our social justice pillar, we have LGBT rights, feminism, civil rights. All those basic human rights are covered under our platform. So of course we are for LGBT rights. And what's really amazing to me, being the candidate and walking around from neighborhood to neighborhood, there's a sad thing that happens where people of one community put their issues against people of another community. For example, maybe the people of the black community say, we don't have enough jobs for our people, and all our jobs are going to these immigrants. And the people of the immigrant community is saying, well, every day we face the fear of deportation and the fact that wages are being stolen from us and we have no one to complain to. And, because if we do, we could face deportation. And they say, plus we're getting mugged by the black community. And then other people will say, well, these gays want to get married, and these are very religious people, and the gays want to get married, and when a man marries a man and a woman marries a woman, and that doesn't create babies, so that's not natural, that shouldn't happen. So it's all these different groups of people, they're all in their little buckets working against each other, and they all should really just realize all of your struggles, you need to put aside a lot of your personal feelings about some of these things and really look at your brother that's in that other struggle and try to find some common ground and work together to have like an overall solution, because a lot of this...
It's easy to say why the Green Party. I mean, it speaks to the values and the political vision I have for society, and it's 4 pillars of nonviolence, social and economic democracy, ecological wisdom, and participatory democracy. Really, sum up what I think government should be focusing on, and the fact that there's such a big gap between rich and poor. There's so many problems that are being really perpetrated because the corporations are in elections. The rich have all these tax loopholes. Fossil fuel consumption is out of control, and the Green Party has a plan called the Green New Deal, which will actually sort of save the planet and create jobs by getting to 100% renewable clean energy by 2030 and creating millions of jobs to be able to do that.
There's a poll in 2013, a Gallup poll, that says 60% of Americans want a third-party candidate in Congress to represent them. So I figured, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to try that out. But we were walking around from poll to poll to poll, and it was pretty dead. And it was really upsetting is that votes that I worked really hard for over this past 60 days, this past Sunday, the Democrats did their usual attack game against the third parties and came out and said, well, a vote for Lane is a vote for Donovan. You're going to guarantee he's winning. He's splitting votes, which is a biggest lie. And it's very typical for Democratic supporters to attack the third party that actually has more values rather than attacking their candidate that has no values at all.
Well, it is true that in New York City, it's very difficult to elect a Green Party candidate because of the way the system is set up, and the districts are so large in terms of getting votes, unlike upstate. But I feel that the Green Party has a reasonable goal to elect someone maybe to state assembly in 2 to 5 years from now.
I mean, and we've seen this over and over and over again. And we're saying, look, if you're not happy, and what was so mind-boggling is they would all start off the statements like, we love everything you're saying, we totally understand, but maybe now isn't the right time. So then if not now, then when? We've waited much too long. We need to have change now. We can't wait till the Democrats start like 10 more wars this year? That's not acceptable. No more wars. We need money back in this country. And so that's why I ran, and I wanted to be the voice for the people that felt that they had no choice.
And he wants to get this done. It was the people that pushed James to go into to try to get into Congress. Okay, so as far as James goes, I mean, he's by the people, for the people, and with the people. And this is why nobody was going to change my mind when it came to James Lane.
Well, I think regardless of who wins, there has been an awakening in Staten Island politics that is probably going to continue for certainly into the next couple of election cycles. And I think that really that's the biggest issue, is really not just who won, but who's going to be winning in the future. And I really think that that's the future of Staten Island. And it's with progressives, Green Party, and Democratic candidates. Progressives, Green